We're honored to have John Feather, the Chief Executive of Grantmakers In Aging, to join us today. Dr. Feather assumed the role of CEO of Grantmakers In Aging in October 2011 and is the immediate past chair of the Board of Directors of the American Society on Aging. Please join me now in welcoming Dr. Feather.
Thank you so much. It's a real honor for me to be here representing Grantmakers In Aging and not only the foundations and individual philanthropists who are our members, but the aging community at large. As was mentioned, I've only been the CEO of Grantmakers In Aging since October, but actually I was the volunteer president of the organization previously, so I've had a long association with the organization. But we are so tremendously proud of the work that's been done in the 16 engagement programs across the country. But I did have an opportunity, to talk to some of the folks who have worked directly with you and with the other programs around the country and said, what's your impression about the Kansas City folks? And this is what they said, and I quote here, "Wow." And the wow is followed by 4 exclamation points. Wow. They've done a fabulous job keeping the big picture in mind from the very beginning. They built the relationships they needed and are continuing and they'll continue long past when GIA funding is done. They're creative, tenacious, and wonderfully collaborative. So give yourself a round of applause for the wonderful work. Today is in many ways a celebration of the tremendous things that you've done here. And I think one of the things about a celebration is it's useful to remember that this is really hard work. As I go around the country and as I've worked in this field for a long time myself, I continue to see that. I've been in the field of aging since 1983 when I started working at the Veterans Administration as it was gearing up to be able to better serve the World War II veterans who were aging and very rapidly in a very large group. Back in those days, I used to have a lot of questions about, why a young guy like me was interested in aging. I don't get that as much anymore. But what's been interesting to me was, and we were talking a little bit about it earlier, is that back in those days, it was obvious, quote unquote, obvious to all of us that the needs of the aging population were here and they were going to go. We actually knew in 1950 that 10,000 baby boomers a day would turn 65 at this point in time. And yet we have done precious little to get ready for that effort. Demographics did not turn out to be destiny, which was a slogan we used a lot in those days. It turned out not to be, in fact, the case that all we had to do was wait for, for this population of older people to get to the age where they voted a lot. That turned out not to be the case. So it's very important, I think, for us to continue to recognize that this is an area where all of us are going to have to be involved. And the beauty of the engagement project is that Atlantic and GIA and the wonderful committee here did not try to impose a specific model of how aging should be done on any community. You made this up yourself. You used, as one of you talks about, guerrilla warfare. You started wherever you could start, added from there, and built out to this wonderful program you have today. And I think one of the great things about it across the country is that you see that the ones that have been successful are the ones that have made use of the community's ability to pull together around these issues. But it's still very hard work. I still get people who should know better in the foundation community saying, aging is depressing. I don't want to talk about it, as if somehow not talking about it makes it go away. We know better than that. You are living lives that show that you know better in your community that this is something that has to be addressed and has to move forward. So I join all of my colleagues nationally in thanking you for the tremendous work you've done, for the tremendous work you're going to do over the next number of years and decades as all of us go through an aging process ourselves with our families and our parents. GIA has been so impressed by the tremendous work that you've done that I'm very proud to announce to you that in October of 2013, our national convention will be here in Kansas City. And we very much look forward to being here, hear about the many innovative programs that you have here in this region. We always do a major session called the Best of the Region, and look forward to hearing about that and bringing that to our national audience.